Hi everyone, it's Katie from Paradise Falls family. In this video, we're continuing our Hawaii 2023 vlog series by looking at our time in Oahu, Hawaii. We stayed here at Disney's Aulani Resort for 7 nights as part of a longer trip to California and Hawaii, and we had an amazing time. In our previous videos, we've given a summary of the resort and talked through the first part of our week on the island. In this video, we're going to talk about our last few days, days 7 and 8, giving an overview of how we spent our time and what we got up to with our final few days at the resort before we moved on to our cruise around the Hawaiian Islands. I'll also give a quick overview of our day in Honolulu after the cruise to wrap up our time on Oahu. Before I get started though, just a quick plug to subscribe to our channel. It really makes such a huge difference to this channel, so be sure to subscribe to catch the rest of this series and other content we've got coming up covering trips to the USA, Canada and Europe. So back to this series. Having spent the earlier part of the week exploring the island, our last few days were spent around the resort relaxing. Day 7 was our last full day and we began with a quick breakfast in the room before meeting Moana and Olu Mel down in the hotel gardens. Moana popped up around the resort fairly regularly, but Olu Mel was only around a few times and was one of the ones we wanted to meet most, so this was really exciting. Afterwards, we moved on quickly to Rainbow Reef for opening at around 10 AM to try out some snorkeling. The reef is open from 10 AM until 3 PM every day and costs $25 for adults and $20 for children, and you can come and go as much as you want throughout the day. You can also upgrade to a weekly pass for an extra $20 per adult or $15 per child. This price includes all of the snorkeling gear and life vests, and it's a great way to try out snorkeling if, like us, you've never really tried it properly before. There are steps down into the water, which, be warned, is absolutely freezing cold, so it puts the kids off a little, but you do get used to it fairly quickly. There's a gravel bottom to begin with that soon drops away into deeper water, but the life vests keep you afloat. You're not supposed to kick your legs or dive down, so it's more a case of just bobbing around the pool, taking in all of the hundreds of beautiful fish that call the reef home. We had a wonderful time and it was a great way to get in some snorkel practice, but the water temperature did mean that the kids didn't want to stay in for too long, so it was quite a short visit, but we'd really recommend giving this a try at least once on your trip. Having worked up an appetite in the water, we decided to have an early lunch over the road at Monkey Pod, one of the most popular restaurants in the area. The food here is amazing and we were able to have a really nice relaxed lunch in the beautiful weather. The only downside was the price. It was a little expensive for lunch at around $145 plus tip for the 4 of us, but it was worth it for a one-off, and this price included a cocktail for me, the Mai Tai, which was one of the best I've ever had and would highly recommend. We also had a wander around the shops next door, the ABC store and Coco Nene to name a few, and then headed back over to Aulani to meet a few more characters around the resort, including Pluto, Goofy and Shelly May. We spent our last afternoon down on the beach again with yet more boogie boarding and generally just having fun, relaxing and chilling out. We had our eyes on the storytelling that was scheduled to be at the fire pit around 5 PM and we made sure to go early to get a spot. However, nobody showed up to run this event, so unfortunately we never got to experience the fire pit storytelling, which was really disappointing, so a little warning not to leave things like this to the last night like we did. We squeezed in a quick tea at Off the Hook again, one of our favourite spots at the resort, and then it was time for our Stargazing reservation with Stars Above Hawaii. Stargazing is offered a few times a week at Aulani, however this schedule just didn't work for us, so we booked a session directly with Stars Above Hawaii, but you can also book this through Viator. See the link in the description below this video. Our reservation was for next door at the Four Seasons Resort, just a few minutes walk away. The location on property varies each night, but ours took place on the rooftop tennis courts and began at 7:45 PM, lasting for an hour. Each session is hosted by an astronomer and there is a telescope already set up to view certain points in the sky to point out different planets and stars. Our guide, Greg, was absolutely fantastic. He was really engaging and he showed us loads of amazing things. We saw satellites, the Starlink satellite train, loads of different stars, several planets including Saturn and its rings, and even saw a shooting star. The skies here are so clear and you can see so many more stars, so we were able to pick out lots of constellations, including Maui's fishhook, which was really cool. The kids enjoyed the session too, although they were still a little tired as we were still getting over the huge time difference between the UK and Hawaii, but we would definitely recommend this activity for kids, particularly those with an interest in space. We were in a group of around 20 people, but everybody got a chance to look down the telescope and take part, and photos of some stars and planets were sent across to us free of charge afterwards as a souvenir. This session came to around $180 for the 4 of us, which we thought was really reasonable given how unique this experience is, and by comparison to some of the other activities that we'd paid for on this trip. We definitely recommend you take a look at doing this. It was a lovely way to end our last evening in Oahu, for now at least. The next morning we made sure we were all packed up and then we headed down to enjoy our last morning in the resort before we departed for our cruise. We stopped by the DVC desk on the way to pick up our free gifts, a magnet and some cute drinks coasters. Then we had a stroll down to the beach, along the shore to the secret beach. To reach this, head down to the beach and follow the path around to the right along the shore. After a few minutes the path ends and you just hop over the rocks to the beach. We visited twice during our stay, and both times the beach was roped off as seals were on the beach, so it was a great way to see the wildlife and it's definitely worth the short walk from Aulani. We spent the rest of our last morning on the beach for one last time, with yet more buggy boarding. Then there was just enough time for a quick shower before we had to move our luggage and check out of our room. We were able to store our luggage at the front desk, which gave us a couple more hours before our taxi arrived. So it was on to the shop for some last minute souvenirs and a picnic lunch from the market, which we enjoyed on the Hawaii lawn. This turned out to be one of our unexpected highlights of the week, as Duffy the bear came to join us as there were no other guests waiting to see him, and it gave us a last bit of Disney magic. With a last hour to fill, we decided we'd have a go at the Menehune Trail around the resort. This is free to do and you just pick up the iPads to borrow from the Pauhana room. We made a start, but we found it was just too hot to trek around in the midday sun. So while it seemed like it'd be fun, it's probably best saved for later in the day when it's cooler and some of the more interactive elements and effects are a little more impressive. By chance, we managed to meet Max while we were cooling off in the shade, and we finished off our time here with him signing our boards to take home as a great reminder of our wonderful trip. And all at once, our time at Aulani had sadly come to an end. We'd pre-booked a taxi with Charlie's Taxis again, and they arrived on time at 1:15 p.m. to drop us off at the port for 2 p.m, and it cost around $100. We had a simply brilliant time at Aulani and would love to return one day, but we were really excited to be starting the next phase of our trip, which I'll talk through in the next few vlogs. To finish off our time in Oahu, I'll also now talk quickly through our time spent in Honolulu after the cruise. We didn't want to fly overnight and endure all the pain of a night flight and miss sleep, etc., which meant we needed to stay a night in Honolulu when we departed the cruise a week later, before flying back to mainland USA. This gave us a bit of bonus time in Honolulu, so we'd intentionally not spent much time in the city so far, saving it for this very last day. Departing the cruise was incredibly easy and we were able to hop in a taxi and take the short ride to our hotel, the Hotel Equus, a small boutique hotel in downtown Waikiki. We knew that we'd want to spend the majority of our time in Waikiki at the beach, so we wanted something relatively close, but with it just being a fly-in visit, we didn't want to spend a fortune on a beachfront resort, so this hotel fit the bill perfectly. The hotel, although small from the outside, was really lovely and the staff were really welcoming. The hotel is a boutique, so pretty small, but it does have a lovely bar area and plunge pool, both of which we didn't have the time to use unfortunately. Our room wasn't ready yet, but the hotel was able to store our luggage for us, and off we headed to the beach for the rest of the day. It was just a short 5-minute walk to the Kahanamoko Lagoon, or Hilton Lagoon which it's also called, which is a lovely saltwater lagoon that families can play in, which has paddleboarding and pedalos for rent. Just the other side of the lagoon is the Kahanamoko Beach, which is where we chose to start as the kids wanted some waves to play in. This is the start of Waikiki Beach, which then stretches all the way down to Diamond Head, and our plan was to work our way down the beach throughout the day. We didn't spend long at this spot. The waves were pretty small in this area and the seabed rocky, so it wasn't our favourite spot on the beach. After a short play in the ocean, we moved on down the beach a little and decided to have some lunch, stopping at Tropics Bar and Grill. We had a lovely lunch overlooking the beach, and it wasn't too badly priced given that we were on Waikiki Beach, coming in at around $100. By now it was red hot, so rather than continue walking along down the beach, we decided to hop in an Uber to go further down the beach to the Kahanamoko statue and the heart of Waikiki Beach. However, unfortunately, this is where our day turned, as on the way we got a text from Hawaiian Islands informing us that our flight the next day had been cancelled due to the storm currently hitting Southern California. So instead of getting on the beach, we spent the whole afternoon back at our hotel trying to sort a way back to California in time to make our flight back to the UK in a few days' time. I have to say that Hawaiian Airlines were absolutely dreadful here. They offered no support, couldn't offer us any alternative flights, and eventually we just had to take a full refund, which took months to receive back in our account, and try and find our own way home. The staff at the Equus Hotel, however, were absolutely wonderful and spent time trying to help us find routes back to San Diego, and eventually we found 4 seats on a flight to San Jose the next day with Alaska Airlines. We were also able to move our return flight to the UK to go from San Jose, and we quickly booked a hotel at San Jose Airport for a few days and a car. So after several hours spent cancelling and rebooking things in our room, we were finally sorted, and ultimately didn't lose any money thanks to our travel insurance. However, it was a crazy stressful afternoon and certainly not the one we had planned. With a bit of time left in the day, we decided to head back to the beach and spent an hour or so on Waikiki Beach down by the iconic Moana Surfrider Hotel. The waves here were crazy and so much fun. There were loads of surfers further out, and it felt great to finally be relaxing on Waikiki Beach. Even though it was incredibly busy, there's a reason this beach is so popular, and it's well worth spending some time here. Afterwards, we had time for some quick shopping at Dylan's Candy Store just over the road and the Honolulu Cookie Company, but we would have loved to have had a little bit more time to stroll the area, take in the shops and the Kuio Beach Torchlight and Hula, but it just wasn't meant to be. It was about time for some food again now, but with it being Saturday night in Waikiki, everywhere was packed. So we ended up at the food court in the Royal Hawaiian Centre, which to be fair was lovely and had a really good choice to fill ourselves up quickly. But next time we'd definitely book a table in advance. After a more stressful day than we'd planned and a flight the next morning, we decided to call it a day and headed back to our room for some rest. Our room at the Equus was lovely, very spacious and comfortable and clean. We were a little worried as it was right outside the bar area and it was a bit noisy when we first got back. However, they closed the bar pretty early, so it was all quiet by the time we switched off to go to sleep at around 10 p.m. The next morning we caught an Uber to the airport for our flight back to the mainland, following a wonderful stay in Hawaii. This really was a dream vacation and we'd all love to return someday. There were loads of things we didn't get to do in Oahu, including shark cage diving, which although terrifying looks absolutely awesome. Loads of beaches on the north and eastern shores, Hanuma Bay, the Punch Bowl and the rest of Honolulu that we didn't get to explore. So that wraps up our time on Oahu. If you've got any questions, just leave them in the comments below, as we did tons of planning and will be more than happy to help. Also, please make sure to subscribe to our channel as it makes a huge difference. We've got loads of good videos coming up, and in the next few vlogs we'll talk about our cruise and the other Hawaiian Islands, so make sure to catch those. Thank you all so much for watching.